risk assessor. We also have Steve Bladel with Inland Forest Management. He's our project manager and an ACF certified forester. We also have Andrea Littlefield from the Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management. She's the grants administrator. And then from City of Coeur Fire, Bobby Gonder was not able to join us tonight, but we have Craig Etherton as a fire marshal. I'm going to be doing the bulk of the speaking tonight, but when we get to the questions and answer period, any of these people will be able to weigh in and answer your questions. So to start, we're here tonight to talk about a fuel reduction grant. So we're going to use some terminology, or I'm going to use some terminology that, to clear things up, I just want to talk through a little bit. This nice image on the side goes over some of the goals and what we're trying to do with a managed forest and reducing fuels. So to start, what is ladder fuel reduction? Or what is a ladder fuel? So ladder fuels are fuels in the forest that will allow a fire to climb into the upper canopy of a forest and then spread at an uncontrollable rate. So when we talk about ladder fuel reduction, we're trying to reduce those fuels and clear, basically, old terminology of clear that forest floor to a point where we reduce that ladder fuel. I'm going to talk about radial thinning, which is the reduction of standing dead trees in a radial pattern. We're talking about hand treatment, which hand treatment means literally hands in the field performing the fuel mitigation work. That means that it'll be people and not equipment. Chipping and mastication, that is using equipment to chew up and spit out the fuels that we're reducing and spread back into the natural area as opposed to burning. Pile burning, that is quite simply what it sounds like. We're going to be creating piles of fuel that we are reducing and for safe burning in order to mitigate and get rid of that fuel. And a WUI, we refer to a wildland-urban interface, which is areas where an urban environment interfaces with a wild environment. Things like homes, businesses, parks. They are the places that are at the most risk from wildfire, and the main reason that we look to reduce that risk to those properties and for public safety and human safety. Now, just a simple overview of the Tubbs Hill project. The driving force behind this project is, of course, public safety in the event of a wildfire. It's a hazard fuel treatment through the Idaho Department of Lands grants program. The match for this work is being provided by the City of Coeur d'Alene, as well as the Tubbs Hill Foundation. We have a defensible space plan in place, and this project includes private landowners, primarily the City of Coeur d'Alene. Grant priorities. We are looking at fuel reduction, creating fuel breaks to abutting property owners, and fuel reduction abutting our high-use trails, and primarily with a secondary goal of improving and increasing the forest health on Tubbs Hill. Just to go a general overview of the project map, and if you can see this, you can see all of the areas where we are planning on doing work, and this is 58.5 total acres. This is the first portion of the project that is going out to bid. Bid opening is scheduled for May 6th at this time. So as you can see, we have a chipping requirement for certain portions of this work, and that's going to be areas primarily abutting McEwen Park, Tubbs Hill or Tubbs Hill Drive, the Fire Road on Tubbs Hill, and then East Tubbs. And these are going to be areas where we will be chipping debris, removing it from the hill, chipping it, and then spreading those chips back onto the natural area. We have made one of the main priorities of this grant is creating a fuel break around the Fire Road. It is crucially important for our firefighters to have a safe way to access Tubbs Hill in the event of wildfire, so reducing the fuel around the Fire Road is paramount. Park and residential WUI areas are a priority. So of course, we're reducing fuel around our park areas as well as the residential homes that abut Tubbs Hill. Creating a fuel break against these areas to give us ability to fight fire and evacuate is crucial, and they've been made a priority. Secondly, you can see highlighted in yellow on the map are the areas where we're going to be doing pile burning. So these are areas where we will be creating, the teams will be creating piles and then burning as we get into a burn window later in the season. Generally, that burn window starts in late fall to early winter, sometimes as early as October, depends on what's happening. Furthermore, hand treatment is required. That's a lower impact to the natural area. Some of our other projects that we've had, we've used mobile excavator mounted masticators. Great piece of equipment, you can do a lot of work with it. It also has a lot higher impact, track marks, disruption of trail areas, also increases the chance of invasive weeds coming into those areas if the contractors might have some seeds and spores that may not know are on their equipment. So these are prescription details, and I'm not going to read all of these to you. I share this slide to show the prescription will be fully available on our website, so anyone that wants to view it, I'll have our website on this page later on, so you can view that entire prescription and read it. But some details I want to point out are things like this. No live trees greater than 8 inches in diameter, DBH means diameter at breast height, shall be cut. Tree stumps to be cut as low as possible. No white pine, no western larch will be cut. Select trees will be left unpruned to preserve aesthetics, to protect privacy. Up to 10% of trees will be left unpruned. Chips will be spread to a depth to not exceed 2 inches. We are targeting specific species: ocean spray, 9-bark, and snowberry. These species are going to be favored for removal above all others. Targeted brush will be cut as low as possible, less than 4 inches in height. I share that because I do want to share when we get in some photos later on. There is going to be a fairly stark difference in areas where mitigation has been made, has been done, and it will grow back, but when you get in there, there is a stark difference. Logs greater than 6 inches in diameter at the small end will not be treated. So you're going to see logs still on the ground when we get into there. It's important to let those logs lay on the forest floor and deteriorate and give us, it's important for the natural area. So not all logs are going to be removed from the hill. Most importantly, conduct these activities in a manner that supports the tremendous aesthetic values, recreational opportunities, and wildlife habitat the area offers. So our project manager has done a great job in writing a prescription that highlights how important Tubbs Hill is to the community, and with the special attributes of this area in mind while we're performing the fuel mitigation work. So have a picture of some examples of the current conditions that we're looking to mitigate. Here you can see how heavily some of the brush is on Tubbs Hill, the amount of standing dead trees, or snags as we refer to them, exist on Tubbs at the current date. Some of these are areas that are as close as, these are right directly abutting our parks. Some other areas you can see some of the standing dead trees. Some of them, like this tree you'll see in this corner, that's a nice nesting tree. We would have no reason to touch that tree. So as you see attributes like that, we look to retain. Mainly what we're looking at, as you look at this area, we're going to be looking at snags that are within proximity to our trails that have increasing the chance they may strike our high-use trail areas, or even the workers that will be performing the fuel mitigation work. Here you can see a roadside image that just shows how heavy and dense that some of that underbrush is, and some of those shrubs are on Tubbs Hill. As we look at other areas in Coeur d'Alene where we've performed fuel mitigation work that you can use as examples, we're going to talk about Canfield Mountain, and we're going to talk about Fernand Natural Area. There's a few key differences to remember if you go to these areas to get an example of what the work might look like. On Canfield Mountain, there was no chipping with that program. That was all hand burning and pile burning, and the pile burning was done to a fairly large extent. The Fernan Natural Area, that was a lot more of a mechanical treatment. We had larger equipment on that project, and mainly was an excavator with a mastication head, and the impact of that area was a lot more intense than what we would expect on Tubbs Hill. Granted, the area's recovered well. It looks great right now, but just was a lot higher impact. And it's important to remember that every natural area has unique characteristics and value. No prescription is exactly the same, and no treatment is exactly the same, and no project goes exactly the same. Here's some examples of some of the work that we've done in some of our other natural areas. This is Fernan Natural Area, and I share this photo to show some of the stark difference. You can see how much debris has been removed. And in this photo, this is before the burning, so you can see some of the piles for that work. I wanted to share this photo and acknowledge that when you go onto the hill directly after the work, this is an example of what you may see. Also remember that the forest recovers quickly, so these areas will, within a year, Fernan doesn't look like this now. It's much more, Fernan Natural Areas, most of that has started to regrow, a lot greener, but those latter fields are still well reduced. Another example of a treatment area here, you can see the amount of reduction that we've done with the shrubs, with different bushes, 9-bark ocean spray that we've been talking about, those native shrubs. And then you can see the reduction in pruning on the dead limbs in the lower canopy of the forest. Here's what our burn piles are going to look like. This is also on Fernan Natural Area. You can see the clumping that was left for these shrubs. These piles were made and seasoned for several months so that they would be ready to burn when a burn window opened. And here you can see the crew actively burning on Fernan. This burn, I believe, happened in late October, and this burn went really well. We had about a 90% burn down on these piles. We also experienced, we left about 10% of the piles as nesting habitat for the critters that live in the Fernan Natural Area. Here you can see what that burn down looks like. Here's some active burn. These piles are burning down now. This is the kind of material that we were left with when it was done. Here's an example of all the burn piles on Fernan from the lake view here, and the example of what we had left after the work was complete. As you can see, not every dead tree, not every snag was removed in this photo, but heavily reduced. So when you look for, this is actually at Post Falls Corbin Park? Post Falls Community Forest, forgive me. So this is an example of the kind of treatment that we're looking to complete and an overall goal of what you may see when you walk on Tubbs. As I said before, no natural area is the same. This is a completely different environment than what we're dealing with on Tubbs, but you can see that ladder fuel reduction, that reduction of dead limbs on that lower forest canopy, and just that overall much more cleaned out look. Coeur d'Alene Parks Department involvement. Important to know how the Parks Department is actually going to be involved in this work is public safety during operations. You're going to see signage and trail access. There are going to be portions of time when access is limited on Tubbs Hill. I don't know if we'll reach a point where Tubbs Hill is closed. As you saw on that work map, primarily the work, it's not throughout the entire hill, it's in sections. Probably during the burn would be the only time that you'll see access to Tubbs Hill completely limited. At the time we're working with the Tubbs Hill Foundation to have our trail ambassadors on site to help with trail closures, to guide users. So look for them for guidance if you're hiking and not sure where to go during a trail closure. They can help guide you on a way to get back to where you're trying to hike, get back to your car, or find an alternate route to enjoy the natural area while you're there. Also, burning safety, we're going to make sure to Be putting out the notice, public notice, as fast as possible when a burn window opens, working with our project manager to create the burn permit with the city, and then get the info out for the public. One thing that's important to note on burning, when we get to the burning portion, although ideally we would put out weeks and weeks of notice for a public burn, often that's not possible. Often a burn window opens fairly quickly, and we have to react and burn those piles fairly quickly. So if you live within the downtown area, within view of Tubbs Hill, and you have concerns about smoke, please do keep an eye on our social media accounts, on our website, for that burn notice, because often we're talking 48, 72 hours of notice before the burn. And often we have a great burn window, we'll put out the notice, conditions can change, and then we have to call that burn off. That's happened before, it could always happen again. Post-project plans. So we'll be working to increase the forest health once the work is complete through native grass seeding, weed control, tree planting, seedling programs that we will look to contract after the work is complete. We're hoping this project will give us the opportunity to improve trail access and condition, as well as visibility for people that we don't want using the natural area in ways that we don't want them to use the natural area, i.e. camping, bike riding, etc. This will also give us the opportunity to use some of our snags to close off trail access to places that we are trying to limit access to help things like trail erosion and keep our trail condition up to snuff. And then the Parks Department, very important to know that we are, once this work is complete, we are taking on the commitment to maintain these fuel breaks and this fuel reduction that we perform. We'll be working with the fire department in the years to come to do low-level burns and continue this fuel mitigation work through volunteer programs, through in-house projects, and through contracted work as well. It's not a one-time fix-all situation. Once you get the work done, you have to make that commitment to maintain these fuel breaks and maintain and keep reducing fuel loads in the future. So if you're a member of the public and you're asking, how can I help? Main thing is pay attention to our public notices. Watch for trail closures and announcements. Please follow the directions, promote following those directions to the public. Watch for volunteer opportunities. The Friends at Tubbs Hill, the Tubbs Hill Foundation, they currently do many trail projects throughout the year for you to be involved in. And they'll have opportunities, I'm sure, for people who are interested in becoming a trail ambassador and helping with trail closures to look into performing that duty as well. Of course, watch for burn notices and public meeting announcements. Keep an eye out for those burn notices. Understand that we are subject to the burn window, and that can always change. Spread the word. Please let people know to call our department if they have questions. This video will be available for them to watch. So if they would like to watch it, please lead them to the website to find that link to do so. If you live within the Tubbs Hill natural area or abutting any natural area, or just any time, Fire Smart Landscaping is a really great method to utilize in planning your landscape. I have an example of it here, creating burn-free smart landscape zones around your property is really important, and having that immediate zone around your property so that it can be protected and give you an opportunity to evacuate is crucial. Tons of great information on that through the Kootenai County Operations of Emergency Management, as well as the Idaho Department of Lands. And once again, please be aware that burn windows are short and often sporadic. Your burn notice may be short. Different resources that you can use to look for updates on this project is, of course, the City of Coeur website. The link is right there on the screen. You can please take a picture of it, or if you're following it online, please follow the link to the website. All updates will be posted there, including the full prescription and map for you to view. Friends of Tubbs Hill website does a great job of posting any information that we put out, as well as any volunteer opportunities. You can see their link right there. Kootenai County Operations of Emergency Management website is also listed right there. Tons of great information there. And of course, anytime there's a hazard in Coeur d'Alene, please, that is a great resource, or in the Coeur d'Alene area, great resource for you to look to. And remember, if you're on Tubbs Hill, please do pack it in, pack it out. We got a great cleanup the other day. On Earth Day, they took tons of bags of trash off Tubbs Hill. It should never be necessary. Please pack it in, pack it out. And remember, Smokey says, we can do all this work, but it's up to the users to please prevent wildfire by not bringing fire onto Tubbs Hill. So to wrap up, any questions that you have, we'll have a question and answer period here. But you can always contact my office, the Urban Forestry Office for the City of Coeur d'Alene. My contact information is there. Steve Bladel has his contact information here. I'm sure he's happy to answer any questions that you may have. And the Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management is listed there as well. And with that, that is what I've got for you tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability that anyone may have. Yes, sir.
When is the work going to start?
I'm going to go ahead and, so the question was, when will the work start? I'm going to lead that answer to my project manager, Steve, and I'm going to ask him to please come up or speak really loud. Yeah.
Well, the bid opening is on May 6th, so nothing will happen before that, and then we still need to do a few more things. So I think the soonest it could possibly start would be the middle of May. But there's a lot of challenges, and there's not a lot of crews out here, honestly, that do this work. So I'm really hopeful that we will get a good crew and we'll get a bid, and they'll want to start it, shortly thereafter. We would like to get the hand piles all built and covered and ready by the end of August, so they have a little bit more time to season, so they'll burn cleaner in the fall. But we're trying to be as flexible as we can with the time to encourage contractors to be able to work it into their schedules. So it's about the best we can do.
So will that bid include then their estimated dates for when they're going to do work? Is that part of the bid process?
Question was if the
You're getting the
bid will include the estimated dates.
No, it won't. We will ask that they give us a schedule, and when they start, that they'll give us, a schedule so they can work continuously. But no, I didn't include that in the bid package.
Schedule is part of the bid?
No, it's not. They just have that time frame between when they get the go-ahead to go to work and get the piles piled by I think it's the end of August.
Cecil?
Will you be planting any bushes or trees that will help increase the animal populations on Tubbs Hill? Be it deer, or hares, or birds, or squirrels, or chipmunks, or whatever?
That's a good question, Cecil. My answer would be that all native species would help be beneficial to any native species of plants, would be beneficial to any native species and critters that live on Tubbs Hill. So the answer would be yes. Yes, Jake?
What's the breakdown in funding between the total grant and the city's match and the foundation?
So the breakdown on funding, it's a $240,000 grant. So the contract is $240,000, and the match portion from the city and the Tubbs Hill that's required, we're required to match 10%, so $24,000. $12,000 has already been committed to by the Tubbs Hill Foundation, and then the city will cover the rest of that grant directly through our care account that we already, our line item in the budget that we have for Tubbs Hill. Absolutely.
And with that match, that money will go directly back into the project. So the money is not, their match portion goes directly back into a project. It's not match that's being paid to IDL. It is money that they are paying to put more work on the ground.
Just to put it into the microphone, the question, that Andrea clarified that that money is directly contributed towards the contracted work that's being done on the hill. There's no other question. Oh, go ahead.
I was looking at the fire road and the chipping. Could you kind of explain how that would be carried out and what it would look like? I wasn't really sure what that meant or what that looked like. What's
It's,
gonna be chipped and how will it be spread out?
yeah, it's a good question. So I may grab Steve here to clarify anything that I say. The question was, can I give some specifics as to how the work will look on the chipping portion of the fire road? So if you walk the fire road, you can see flagged areas, you can see marked snags. There's a handful of living trees that we did mark, mainly smaller trees, because they might interfere with the passability of the fire road right now, the accessibility. So the work will be similar to any of the other work on Tubbs. It is handwork. It's not machine operation or anything on Tubbs Hill, but that is a pretty good equipment access. So there'll be a chipper, a mobilized chipper that will go up there, and within that buffer that was zoned on the map, they will be pulling that material and chipping it and spreading it back into the natural area, and it calls in our prescription to have that no deeper than 2 inches. So anything that's smaller than 6 inch in diameter, they will chip. Anything that's larger than 6 in diameter, they will lop and scatter into the natural area. I hope that answers the question.
Just one comment, you won't see any ribbons out there. We've had a problem with people tearing ribbons down. So along the fire road, we just designated a distance from the road. I think it's 75 feet above and 50 feet below that we'll treat. And then in other areas, as the contractors work, I'll just be ribboning those boundaries in so they can see where it is. But right now, they're just digitized on a map, so you won't see many ribbons.
Thank you, Steve. And I would ask anyone watching at home, please don't take down our ribbons. It's just plastic pollution and costs more money than we need to spend. If there's any other questions?
I feel obligated to mention this. What you cleaned up there, you showed a pretty drastic reduction in folding. I just remind myself and anybody else that the alternative is when the fire goes through, everything will be lost. So it's a great project, and have you had any indication that the grant will not come through, or are you pretty sure it will?
As of right now, I have had confirmed the grant funding is in place. Of course, it's depending on us getting a contractor and a contract in place. So once the project goes out to bid, it is important to note that all of this is draft. So depending on the price, when they get this price back, it will be on a price per acre. So if that price per acre is drastically more than our grant dollars, that would mean we have to adjust our work area, correct? So there is a chance that that map could change depending on what we get as a price per acre. So it's important, if you view that, know that nothing is set in stone other than the $240,000 that we have as a limit and the $24,000 match that we're required to give. And it is important to remember, when you're doing fuel mitigation work, you're basically simulating a wildfire. Right? That's what we're looking to do, is we're simulating a fire that's coming in and burning all of that material away so that it doesn't have to happen. Not only does it make it safer, but it also gives us a safer opportunity in the future to do things like low-level burns, which are really effective way to mitigate hazardous fuel. Well, if there's no other questions,
If anybody snuck in, if you could please make sure you sign in, I would appreciate it, we need it for the grant.
yeah, if you please sign in for us, it helps with tracking purposes. We won't contact you, I promise. And I just, a big thank you to the Tubbs Hill Foundation. Without their direct contribution and match, this grant would have been a lot harder for us to get, quite simply. So big thank you to them and everything that they do. And thank you to you, everyone who attended tonight. If you have any questions, please do contact my office, and if I can't answer it, I'll do my best to find the answer for you.
And you said this presentation is available to watch online.
It is, yes. Once uploaded, I will have it on that page that I shared earlier. And if you go to the City of Coeur d'Alene Facebook page, that link was shared earlier today. So it will be available to watch on the city YouTube page at any time in the future. Our quality team will do some work to clean it up a little bit and have a nice presentation for anybody to watch. So, perfect. Well, thank you all very much. I'll be hanging out, so if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to bring them to me.